For cheap D2R items, visit aoeah.com. You get 3% off with the code ARIAT. Check the link in the description. Hello and welcome everybody. In this video we will have a look at how Magicfind and player count affect the drop rates, which of both is more important and at which values the biggest changes are to be expected. As we will see, once again the situation and the personal farm goals decide whether MF or a high player count has more meaning. At the end there is also a comparison in practice, so let's go. First we'll take a look at the game mechanics in numbers and statistics. Briefly repeated, simply said, Magicfind affects only the colors on a drop. The more Magicfind you have, the better the chances of getting rares, sets and uniques. If you are interested in the exact calculation chain of the drop process, you should watch my video about Magicfind, which is linked in the description below. In any case, Magicfind has no influence on the item types in a drop, that's important to know. The increase of Magicfind regarding rares, sets and unique items decreases with higher values, as you can see in the graphics. The first 100 to 200% Magicfind have the strongest effect, and from values of about 400 and further, Magicfind becomes less and less worthwhile. The drop rates still improve, but not as strong as in the beginning. Besides that stronger monsters give more experience, a higher number of players also causes that the drop rates of many items get better. Not of all as we will see, but of many. But this is not because the number of players increases the character's Magicfind value or something, that doesn't happen. But if we look at the drop rates of normal white elite items, for example a diadem or a shako, we can see that the probability to find one increases with the number of players. A change always occurs to the odd numbers, so at 3, 5 or 7 players. A second player alone does not improve the chances yet. From this we can deduce that the drop rates of popular elite uniques come about as follows. A higher number of players makes it more likely to find elite item types in a drop, like shako, and more Magicfind increases the chance that a dropping shako will become a Harlequin crest and not a blue or yellow shako. I have listed the dropping rates of a Harlequin crest at Mephisto Hell here. The flattening effect of Magicfind can be seen very well here, though you can also see that the effect of player amount flattens as well. The biggest improvement takes place when jumping from 2 to 3 players. With the Harlequin crest, the improvement from 3 to 5 players is already very small, and from 5 to 7 no further improvement happens. This is not always exactly the case. How much the improvement flattens out depends on monster and item. However, since the drop rate of an arachnid mesh develops in the same way, we can conclude that Mephisto always has such a curve with all unique items. For farming such items, it is most effective to go through games with 2 other players and put on as much Magicfind as you can carry without losing kill speed. Statistically, the Magicfind plays a bigger role than the number of players, especially at the beginning. The first 50% Magicfind causes a bigger change than additional players. We find completely different patterns when we look at the rune drop chances instead. As we all know, Magicfind has no effect here, but a higher player count makes rune drops more likely. The effect flattens out a bit here too, but not as extreme as we saw at the unique items. Also here, the improvement is best when changing from 2 to 3 players, but also at 5 and 7 players relevant improvements still take place. Also, it's good to know that certain types of monsters have better chances of getting rune drops than others. All types of specters and souls have the best, then cows, and then all other monsters. Of course, the area level in their area must be high enough to give the corresponding rune. What is also interesting to know, in elite and champion groups we always find the same drop rates, regardless of monster type and player count. So a Magicfind barb who is designed to kill only elite groups and superuniques has no disadvantages for preferring to farm solo. We often have a similar effect with superunique monsters. They have their own fixed drop rates, and with many of them nothing changes by a higher number of players. Let's take a griffin for example. With act bosses and quest relevant superuniques like Nilatak, the chances for a griffin improve by more players, according to the same basics as we just had with Mephisto. But with all other super unique monsters from Act 5, there are fixed drop rates that don't depend on the number of players. Here only Magicfind helps. Nice again for the Magicfind Barbarian. Finally, let's take a look at some Mephisto drops on Hell in direct comparison and then analyze and evaluate them. The first runs I did with the Fire Sorceress offline on players 1 with 200 and 400 Magicfind, and on players 7 as well. I did the same again in Battle.net with the Cold Sorceress. Here I worked at 0 and 300 MF once each while solo farming and at 3 players in a game. Since the number of runs in total is not really high yet, the statistics will be subject to the fluctuations of the RNG, but we just want to see what kind of picture emerges. Now let's look at the facts. What stands out very clearly is the increased drop rate of elite items in the games at 3 and 7 players, compared to farming alone. In solo runs, we found a total of 46 elite item types, and in the same number of multiplayer runs, we found 83, almost double. Whether players 3 or players 7 made no big difference. 42 of the 83 elite items came from players 7 and 41 from players 3. The effect of Magicfind is not quite as obvious, the number of runs is still a bit too low. But we can see that at 0 Magicfind the fewest rares, uniques and sets were dropped. In 25 runs, each under 40 rares and less than 20 unique and set items. With Magicfind on the other hand, these values were always exceeded, sometimes very clearly, whereby the highest numbers did not always correlate with the highest Magicfind value. Concerning the best items, we can see that in 3 and 7 player games the most usable items came around. But just right in the solo runs with 0 Magicfind, we dropped the High Lords and the Maras. This shows that RNG luck always has the last word, even if the player does his best to improve his chances. I hope you enjoyed this little comparison. Feel free to write me in the comments how your standard farm settings are. I say goodbye, take care, and may the loot be with you.
Come on, follow me.